Hi there, today I wanted to talk about strings. So I've picked 12 different types of strings to review. I'm going to give it a quick fire review where I just literally talk for 15-20 seconds or so per different type of string, just to give you a very quick rundown of what it's all about. A couple of things first of all though. One thing which I just did want to mention is I've got the majority of the Tecnifibre strings, I've got the majority of the Ashaway strings covered in there. One omission which I have left out, which is actually quite a popular string, is the Ashaway SuperNick. So the standard original white with blue and red flecks going through it. The reason why I've actually missed out the SuperNick, the standard SuperNick, is just because I feel that there are slightly better strings that do a better job in the Ashaway range than the original. So I've picked out the SuperNick XL Micro, which is the slightly thinner version of it, which is 1.15 mils. And I use this one primarily because I think with the original white SuperNick, what tends to happen is the string goes dead far beyond the point of when it should need changing, really. Sorry, far before the point where it should need changing. So rather than just getting used to a string when it's dead and letting it go on until the string breaks, I think if you use a SuperNick XL Micro, it's actually a better choice than the standard white version, because by and large you'll actually get better playability out of it, and when the string's about to go, or when it does go, it's probably about the right time for it to be changed, rather than waiting an extra month or two with the standard white SuperNick, which will just go on forever. The other thing as well is that players tend to get fairly annoyed sometimes if the strings move around a lot in their rackets. So by that what I mean is when you've got players that are constantly pulling the strings back and forward. Now these are Ashaway PowerNicks in this racket, in this I racket. When you hit the ball with the Ashaways, the strings basically, they just move. Ashaway strings, if you want to use Ashaway strings and you like them, get used to the fact that the strings move and they stick in place a little bit more. And that's mainly because they've got a rough texture on it, so when they move they stick in place a lot easier, which means you're constantly fiddling with the strings. When you use something like a Tecnifibre 305, because the string is a bit smoother, a bit waxier, possibly a little bit more elastic, when you hit the ball the strings tend to ping straight back into position again, so you won't see quite as many players fiddling about the strings when they've strung it with Tecnifibre, just because they snap back. Now strings that move around a lot, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're ready to replace or that they're bad strings. It's just a characteristic of the string. So don't necessarily pick the choice of string that you use purely on the basis that it moves around a lot or it doesn't go back into position. However, sometimes it is a good signal if the strings are all over the place, spaghetti strings as we call it. It is a good signal that sometimes they do need replacing. So without further ado, here's my review. First up is Tecnifibre's 305, one of the most popular strings on the Pro Tour and seen all around the world in people's rackets. It's got extremely good bite on it, good control, really good power. Generally speaking, this is one of the strings that you'll see most of all. Really good string. Tecnifibre X1 Biphase, my favourite string by quite a way. It's got probably slightly better power and slightly better touch than the 305. Durability, probably not quite as durable as the 305, but it's just one of those strings that I absolutely love. Next up is the brand new Tecnifibre Dynamix VP. Not to be confused with the Dynamix, the original one. This has got brilliant power on it. It's very soft because it's been steamed, and there's loads and loads of power on this string. Absolutely tons of power. Ashaway SuperNick XL Micro. Now this is what I choose instead of the white SuperNick XL original string. You do need to replace this one probably before it snaps, but it's really good for people that tend to frame the ball a little bit. It's got decent touch on it because it's nice and grippy as well. Next up, Ashaway PowerNick 18. So plenty of pros use this, Joel King being one, for example. It's got plenty of power in it, but you have to hit the ball at a certain way to actually generate that power. It can feel quite numb for some people, but it's very durable and it's decent. Next up is the UltraNick 18. Now, I think the UltraNick 18 is a really good blend of everything that Ashaway have. So it's got good power, it's got very good touch, very good control. Players like Daryl Selby, for example, use this. Amanda Sobey's another one as well. Really, really good string, nice overall string. And next up we have Ashaway's SuperNick ZX. So again, a few pros will use this string. I think it's pretty good. It's a better version, I think, than the SuperNick XL Micro. Plenty of touch, but again, it can go dead fairly quickly, so replace before it snaps is my best advice. Unsquashable Tour-Tec Pro. Now this is a kind of unsung hero of mine. It's not mega expensive to buy. The power is brilliant. It's got decent bite on it. It's a good alternative to Tecnifibre 305. But yeah, this is definitely a string which is worth trying once in your life, and you may love it. Then we have the IX Tech. So a few pros will use this. Paul Cole is an example of somebody that has used it over the last few years and has got to number 4 using this string. Fairly similar to Tecnifibre 305. Probably not quite as elastic as that string, but it's a decent string to try. RAB Sensor Fibre. So this is a really durable string. It's meant to play fairly similarly to Tecnifibre's top of the range strings. It's about as expensive as Tecnifibre's top of the range strings as well. It's a bit thicker, 1.27, but very good. String it loose, get a bit more power out of it. Dunlop Silk. So again, this is a really popular string on the Pro Tour. Quite a few pros use the Silk. You've got Sarah Jane Perry being an example of somebody that uses this. Nice touch. Again, a good alternative to the Tecnifibre 305. Very, very waxy feel to it as well. Good string. Karakal Hot Zone. So, Hot Zone, make sure you string this a couple of pounds more than you would do normally. It's very, very elastic. String it too loose and it'll be like hitting the ball with a pillow. Even though loose is supposed to generate more power, string it a little bit tighter to get the best out of it. Many thanks.